Hello, everybody. I'm back, and man, I actually got something special to announce to you guys. This is actually my true 100th video. I know I have more than 100 uploads, and it was pointed out to me that the video I did heading into SummerSlam was my 100th video. It was my 100th upload, but it wasn't my 100th true video because I had, before YouTube let me, put on unlimited time for my videos, I had one of my early videos I split into two and posted as, two parts on the same day. And I had a question and answers later that year that I split into 4 parts. So I like to think of both of those as one video because I filmed them all at the same time. So, and it was originally one big video that I just split up both times. So you subtract those 4 additional pieces, this is actually my true 100th video, and I wish I had a little bit more of a special one to throw out there than this just more simple one, but whatever. And it was also pointed out to me that I should call my 100th video the 100th anniversary of my first video, because, that that would be the way to do things in the wrestling world. But yeah, tying into the wrestling shows I watched this week, I saw Raw, saw Impact, wasn't really impressed with either one. Raw, it's the same old crap, it's same stuff I've been saying since they went to 3 hours. The show's too long, it drags. I think every week since, not with the 1000th episode, but starting with the show after that, I think every week since then, every single show, like out of habit almost, I will get bored, I'll look up at the clock, and it'll say only 9:30, and I'm like, what the fuck, it's only 9:30? I think I've said that every single week since they went to 3 hours. And it's like habit, and I did it this week, and I had to laugh, and I'm like, I feel like I say that once a week, but, the show just drags on too long, and Jerry Lawler in the main event isn't going to make me happy. It's not that the show is spectacularly terrible or anything, it's just that it's too goddamn long. And that's a problem. And then Impact didn't really advance anything this week. I mean, the Bound for Glory series stuff is still good, but they didn't really advance anything in terms of the Aces and Eights storyline. It was pretty much, the ending was pretty much the same as it was last week, where Aries got hurt by the Aces and Eights, and they didn't really add anything or develop anything beyond that. It was just kind of the same thing. So I was like, that episode was kind of a nothing. But, yeah, funny thing, there's actually going to be a TNA house show in Bowie, Maryland tonight. It's like 40 minutes away from where I live. I would go to it, but I'm going to a barbecue to celebrate Labor Day weekend, and not that I wouldn't want to go to the TNA house show, because I'll be honest, I went to a TNA house show in 2008, and their house shows are fun. Even if you don't like the television product, you get an autograph session after the show where you get to meet the stars, and there's just a fun atmosphere to them, because a lot of the bullshit that is incorporated to the TV show isn't there. So it's yeah, if you are in the Bowie, Maryland area, I suggest checking out some TNA later tonight, but I won't be there. But I'll talk more about WWE and TNA next week. I'm going to do a pay-per-view preview for No Surrender and Night of Champions, both of which are coming up. Actually, No Surrender's next weekend. But what I did want to talk about today, I wanted to talk about Ryback. And I don't think I've really given my opinions on Ryback beyond griping that his matches tend to be just unannounced bonus matches for pay-per-view, and that, how much that bugs me. But I've never really talked about Ryback himself or what I think about the whole thing. And I think I should, because I do think he's going to be a future world champion one day. Whether you like it or not, he's going to be a future world champion one day. That's all I'm telling you. So get ready. It might even come as soon as WrestleMania next year. Who knows? All that said, what do I think of Ryback? I like some of the booking that has gone into him. I like the idea of Ryback. I'm not a fan of some of the execution. And, the big criticism against him is that he's too much like Goldberg, and he's a Goldberg ripoff. And in this video, I'm going to make comparisons to both Goldberg and The Ultimate Warrior and how that ties into Ryback, because I think those are very fair comparisons to make, because that's obviously what they're trying to recreate here. I'll say that he's too much like Goldberg in some areas, or a lot like a watered-down Goldberg in a lot of areas, and he's not enough like Goldberg in some areas. And And that's where the watered down comes into play, I guess. But a couple of things. One, the entrance. And I can't believe nobody's commented on this besides me, so I'm just going to say it. And this is a question for people who've actually been to the live events where Ryback wrestles. Do they send off pyros for his entrance? What is that? Because they do a zoom in on his face on the entrance ramp. And we hear a pyro go off, but we don't see it. The television audience doesn't see it anyway. That's why I'm confused, because I'm thinking, okay, are they setting off a pyro that the television audience can't see, or are they not setting off a pyro and just setting off the sound effect? Either way, it's stupid. I was like, because Goldberg, I mean, his entrance felt like an event. Like, it felt like the mother of all badasses was coming down to the ring. Security would walk him down, you know, in the backstage area, then he would come out, the sparklers would fly up, and that epic fucking theme music. That's one of my favorite theme musics in wrestling. That was just, everything about Goldberg's entrance was just awesome. But with Ryback, it feels like, a watered down version of that where, okay, he's, you know, a bald-headed badass and he's all jacked up and everything. He kind of looks like Goldberg in Rob Van Dam's wrestling gear, which I wasn't shocked when I heard that Ryback got his wrestling gear from the same guy that does Rob Van Dam's. But, but when it comes to the sparkler part where he's supposed to stand on the entrance ramp, we don't see the pyros. I'm like, so are you setting off pyros or are you not setting off pyros? And why can't we see them? I don't know. It just really bothers me. And I know it's a little thing, but I'm like, you know, it was cool when Brock Lesnar would jump up on the apron and the ring posts would, you know, set off those pyros. And, you know, try to imagine Kane's entrance without the fire coming out of the corners. I mean, it's just, it would add to the entrance if we could see something. And it seems weird that we hear it, but we don't actually see it. So, again, I don't know if that's a thing that they're either not letting the television audience see it, which I think is stupid, or they're setting off sound effects for a pyro that's not there, which is double stupid. Because, I mean, what does that look like in to the live crowd watching Raw? I don't know. I would love to know. So if anybody's been to a Raw or a SmackDown where Ryback wrestles, I would love to know what exactly is going on there. And then another problem is with his matches themselves. I mean, with Goldberg, what really made him work, for me, is that not all of his matches are the same. They would end the same. It would be spear, jackhammer, it's over. But he would always throw new moves out there. I remember one match, it was Super Brawl. He fought, what's his name? Brad Armstrong. And Bobby Heenan, he did this one move. It was like a pump handle slam. He set it up like a pump handle, but he like did a fall-away slam with him, and it looked sick. And Bobby Heenan was like, I've never seen Goldberg do that. And he would always do cool things like that. One night he would spear 3 guys at once. One night he would, he would do the rolling leg lock. One night he would do military press into a front slam. He would always throw out these new moves. One night he'd do a backflip. That was his first match. He would do something visually interesting in addition to killing people, and I always felt like that kind of gave off the impression that his opponents couldn't prepare for him. Sucking myself into the fictional world here. It gave off the impression to me that his opponents couldn't prepare for him because he's always throwing these new moves out there, and he's always killing his opponents, so how do you prepare for Goldberg? It just really, it added to the mystique, I thought, in addition to the entrance and the fact that he would just, he never talked and he would just kill people. So I liked everything about Goldberg's presentation. With Ryback's matches, though, it's kind of the same thing over and over and over again, where he'll throw the guy around a little bit, and then he'll sell some offense, then he'll do a clothesline, and then he'll do a Samoan drop, which, by the way, the Samoan drop is a really weak finish. Tatanka used to do that back in the day. That's nothing special. Come on. The jackhammer, when I first saw the jackhammer, I was like, wow, that's different. That's new. Kind of like that. It doesn't look that devastating or anything. I was like, come on, if you want to recreate Goldberg, you can do better than that. So I feel like a lot of his matches are very repetitive. And that would be okay because the Ultimate Warrior had the same thing where, go back and watch any Ultimate Warrior squash match. It's virtually the same. It's like 3 clotheslines, military press, drop the guy, belly splash. They'd run back to the ring, and that's an Ultimate Warrior match. But what made Warrior got away with it because the character was so strong. Because there was no one else like that at the time with that look and those wild, insane promos, and everything about him just stood out. To where even if the matches were just the same old horseshit over and over again, the character was so strong that it was okay, and they were able to kind of, get away with it, I guess. But Ryback, I mean, again, he just kind of feels like a watered-down Goldberg. There's nothing about his character that really stands out. The only thing about him that's really original is the "Feed Me More" chant, and that's really all he has. And I don't know if that's enough to really keep my attention. But yeah, I feel like they could do better with a lot of the presentation that they put into Ryback. I don't know what the talent himself is like. I mean, he could be like Goldberg, where he's just not a very good worker, and they're trying to cover that up by making him a monster. Or I don't know if he can actually get in there and work. I don't know. I thought his match with Swagger on Raw this week was pretty shitty, but that could have just been a one-night thing. So who knows? But yeah, I think it's likely. I heard that. On Superstars this week, he announced that he wants a champion to face at Night of Champions. So that means to me that he's either going to get a U.S. title shot or an IC title shot. Probably an IC title shot because Claudio Castagnoli just won the U.S. title, so I don't see much point in feeding him to Ryback. But I'm going to go on a little mini rant here, and those of you who watched my videos before know this won't surprise you, but if you want to put the belt on Ryback, this big monster guy, what they should have done is they should have taken Cody Rhodes from earlier in the year, from when he won the belt. I think he won the belt in like September. Have him hold the belt all the way through WrestleMania, have him get by Big Show. If you want to do a DQ, that's fine, but Cody needs to come out of that feud with the belt. By hook or by crook, he needs to survive, Instead of giving Big Show a WrestleMania moment, keep the strong title reign from Cody going. And keep that heel gimmick going, because I really like that gimmick of him humiliating people with video footage. And I thought they could have gotten more out of that beyond the Big Show feud. Keep the belt on him all throughout the summer. He's building his heat, he's building his heat, he's building his heat. And then at Night of Champions, he faces the undefeated guy and loses the belt. There you go. There's your payoff. And all of the credibility and all the heat that you built into Cody Rhodes then transfers over to Ryback. And you're good. Again, comparing him to Goldberg and the Ultimate Warrior. Raven, when Goldberg beat Raven for the U.S. title, Raven had only been champion for a day, I think. I think he'd won it at the pay-per-view, and then Goldberg beat him the next night on Nitro. And if I recall correctly, Goldberg beat Saturn on the pay-per-view to get the shot at Raven. But that had been the storyline, is that Goldberg had to run through all the members of the flock before he got to Raven. So even though the U.S. title reign wasn't much, it was just a one-night thing, there was a payoff to it because they had actually had Goldberg go through all the members of the flock. So when he beat Raven, it felt like a big deal. They probably could have gotten another month out of it, just do a pay-per-view match, but it was Monday Night Wars time. The hot shotting was the thing. But it still felt like a big deal. And then when the Ultimate Warrior won the IC title, he beat Honky Tonk Man, who had been the longest reigning IC champion of all time and one of the most hated characters in wrestling. And, you take all that heat, all that attention that the Honky Tonk Man had gotten, you have Ultimate Warrior beat him, and it transfers all over to the Ultimate Warrior, and it helps him become a star. It's what I talked about with WrestleMania 14, one of my older videos. I did that video last year. God damn, I can't believe I've been doing videos as long as I have. But leading into WrestleMania 27, I did a video about mapping out WrestleMania. I talked about how WrestleMania 14 was so perfect that they kept the belt on Shawn and built his heat all through like the second half of 97 all the way until WrestleMania 14, and then Austin beat him, and how that was so helpful for Austin's character. And that win really helped Goldberg. That win really helped the Ultimate Warrior. But now, if you do this with Ryback, he's just beating the ham and egger champion that loses all the time. And that's not a knock on Miz. It's just kind of like, who gives a fuck? He was on a losing streak before he won the belt. I don't know how he got a title shot. And since he's been champion, he loses all the time. He lost to Cena this week. He lost to Kane a couple weeks ago, I think. And it's like, I feel like I'm always seeing him lose. So I'm just sitting there thinking, he's not really that strong of a champion. He's just holding it just for the sake of holding it. So it's not going to be that big of a win for Ryback because they haven't pumped enough into Miz. And I think it would have been more beneficial to fucking run with Cody Rhodes all the way until this point and then have Ryback beat him. It's kind of, you got to plan for your fucking future instead of living for the moment and living just to achieve the pop. It's fucking Ant the Grasshopper. That's all I'm going to say. Fucking Ant the Grasshopper. I learned that story in fucking preschool, and it's a great lesson. I'm just saying. Throwing that out there. But, yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on Ryback. I can't really think of anything else to really add to that. It's something that they could definitely do a lot better. I like the idea. Like I said, I like the idea of trying to recreate a Goldberg. I thought they had that with Bobby Lashley when he first debuted. When was that? 05? He had that match with Simon Dean, which was awesome. I mean, he destroyed Simon Dean. And it was like, oh my god, they found their next Goldberg. They found the next Goldberg. And then, of course, they ruined that because none of his other matches really stood out. None of his other squashes, anyway, really stood out. And then they had him talk, and then they had him lose, and then they, yeah, it was ruined. It was pretty much ruined. They jobbed him out to JBL on pay-per-view, which shocked me. So, I mean, I thought they did a better job with Lashley. Like, watch the Lashley matches with Simon Dean, and you'll see more of what I think Ryback should be. Rather than just having the same exact match over and over again, you can show off his power and his dominance in different ways and really make him stand out and not just present the same exact match every week. But, yeah, that's all I got for now. I'll talk to you all next week. Like I said, I've got a pay-per-view preview coming up for both No Surrender and Night of Champions, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you all later.